What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I'm going to be answering your frequently asked questions regarding the EIDL, the PPP, and just stimulus packages in general. Over the last few days, I asked you guys to comment on my videos with some of the questions that you had, and the response was overwhelming and I got a bunch of questions. So though I may not be addressing all of the questions that were asked in this video, I've compiled the most frequently asked ones and I will be addressing those today. So let's get started. So the first question I want to address is regarding the EIDL or EIDL application portal. As you guys know, over the last few weeks, the EIDL application portal was only open to agricultural businesses, and I have gotten a lot of questions regarding that over the last few weeks. Well, as of Monday night, the EIDL application portal has reopened for general businesses. And so if you're somebody that did not get a chance to apply, now is your chance, and I highly encourage you to go through and fill out the application. It literally takes 5 minutes. In fact, I went through and filled out the application for somebody I'm working with this morning, and it took 5 minutes. And so it's super, super easy. You just need to know your revenue figures, your EIN number or social security number, and some of the kind of basic information with your business or independent contracting gig or sole proprietorship. And if you know that information, it is a breeze to fill out, so get that done. On that same point, if you're somebody who applied for the EIDL program while the agricultural application was open and you received a denial on the basis that your business was not an agricultural based business, I have heard reports from people stating that they are receiving emails from the SBA saying that their application is kind of being put back into the queue and that they are being reconsidered for the EIDL loan or grant program. And so that is amazing news. I'm super excited to hear that. But again, if you're somebody that did not apply for the EIDL program, now is your chance. So take advantage of that opportunity. The next question is, if you accept either the EIDL grant or the EIDL loan, does that have an impact on your unemployment or your PUA benefits? And the thing that's important to understand with this is that EIDL is not considered income. It's considered kind of a capital injection for business expenses. Now, if you are somebody who is using these funds as income-based funds, and so you're using it to pay yourself, then yeah, you may have to report that and it could potentially have an effect on PUA. But if you're somebody who is using the funds as they were intended, which is general business expenses that would have occurred regardless of COVID-19, then no, that should not affect PUA because it is not considered income, and if you don't use it towards your own payroll and your own pay, then it will not have an effect on your PUA benefits because it's not income. Next is the question of, I have received a loan offer or a loan denial, but I still have not heard anything regarding the cash advance portion of the EIDL. What can I do in this case, and does this mean that I am not receiving the cash advance? Now, this question is tricky because there's a lot of different variables depending on the outcome of the EIDL application for you specifically. Now, if you're somebody who was approved the EIDL loan and you have not received your cash advance, chances are you still may receive it. There are a lot of reports of people who have said that they received their loan and their loan offer and they actually got their loan funded, and then they received their cash advance a couple of weeks later through a second portal invite. Now, my kind of speculation as to why this is happening is because the EIDL grant or cash advance portion of the program is handled by one department while the EIDL loan is handled by a second department. And the EIDL grants are being distributed at a much larger rate than the loans. And so because of that, the EIDL grant or the EIDL cash advance portion is falling further and further behind compared to the EIDL loan counterpart. And so because of that, we're seeing more and more people who are receiving their cash advance weeks after the loan. So if you are somebody that was accepted into the program and you accepted the loan, you're funded the loan, but you have not received the cash advance, I would recommend just staying on top of the SBA. I would probably call them weekly, just making sure that they know that you are aware of the fact that you have not received the cash advance and you should have received it, and they can note it in your file. So make sure to speak to a Tier 2 representative. Now, if you're somebody who was denied the loan and you have not received your cash advance yet, there could be a couple of different scenarios. One is that it may just be simply that the cash advance has not been deposited into your account yet due to the backlog, so it could be something where you will be receiving it in a few weeks, and that is a very likely scenario. But the other scenario is the fact that you may have just been simply denied the cash advance. The kind of common misconception with the EIDL program is that if you applied, you automatically get the cash advance, and that is not the case. Depending on the figures and the revenue and the cost of goods that you put on your application dictates whether or not you qualify for the cash advance portion. And just because you filled out the application does not mean that you are going to be getting your cash advance. And so if you're somebody who was denied the loan and you have not heard anything about the cash advance, yes, it could be because of the fact that the cash advance program is just falling further and further behind, but it could also be because you were just simply denied. I would encourage you to call a Tier 2 representative and ask for a status update on your specific application, and depending on why you were denied should give some clarity as to whether or not you're going to get the cash advance. For example, if you were denied because your business was not negatively impacted enough to justify EIDL funding, then that probably means that you also will not be receiving the cash advance. But again, this is something that really varies on a case-by-case basis, and it's hard for me to say exactly why you haven't received your cash advance, so I would recommend calling the SBA in this case. The next question is, if you received an EIDL portal invite, does that mean that you were accepted into the program? And the answer to that question is possibly. It certainly means that you've gotten further into the process, which is a great sign, but it does not mean that you are guaranteed the loan. I have heard of a lot of people who have been denied the loan after being invited into the portal. I've also known a lot of people who were denied before the portal invite. For example, myself, I was denied on the basis of credit. I never received a portal invite. I never got that far into the process. And so if you're somebody who has received a portal invite, that is definitely a good sign, and it definitely means that you're one step closer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to get it either. Next is the question of appeals. And so over the last few weeks, I've gotten a lot of questions regarding how to file an appeal, what a letter of reconsideration should look like, what you should include in your appeal. And so this Friday, I am going to be doing a video going over that. So I will go over the details of what you need to do before your appeal, what you need to include in your appeal, and I'll also be giving you guys a free kind of mock template that you can go off of for the letter of reconsideration. So that topic is just too much to go over in this video alone, so I will be covering that in my Friday video. So if you're somebody that has questions regarding the appeals process or how to move forward in the appeals process, then you will definitely want to make sure to stick around for that Friday video. Next is the question of, can you apply for the EIDL program more than once? And the answer is yes, you can, but you have to apply with either different EIN numbers or different social security numbers. So for example, if you're somebody that is an independent contractor and you and your wife are both independent contractors, the two of y'all can both apply and potentially get approved for the EIDL program. But if, like, you can't apply twice under your own social security number. And the same thing goes for the EIN and businesses applying. If you have multiple businesses and they're all under the same EIN, then you can only apply once. But if you have multiple businesses and all of them have different EIN numbers, then you can apply for as many EINs as you have. And so you absolutely can apply more than once, but also keep in mind that the banking information has to match with the business. And so that can also overcomplicate the issue. If you have multiple EINs, but they're all routed to the same bank, that could cause some issues down the road as well. And so, but the rule of thumb is that if you have more than one EIN, you can apply more than once. The next question is kind of on the same topic of appeals, and it is the question of, if you were approved EIDL funding, but you didn't get enough money, can you appeal or submit a letter of reconsideration for more funds? And the answer to that question is yes, you can, but keep in mind that there is a $150,000 cap. So if you're somebody who received $150,000 through the EIDL program and that still wasn't enough, you cannot submit a letter of reconsideration for more money because you have hit the ceiling of funds that are available to you. But if you're somebody that got $50,000 or $25,000 or whatever the case is and you're wanting more funds, you can absolutely submit a letter of reconsideration to request more funds. You will just have to provide information as to why you need the money. This is also a topic that I will be discussing in more depth on my Friday video. Next is a question of, if you're somebody who received the EIDL advance and then you were either denied or you didn't accept the loan, will you have to pay back that cash advance? And the answer to that question is no, is that once you have the cash advance, that money is yours. You do not have to repay it regardless of what the status of your loan is. And so once you get those funds, you can rest easy from there. You do not have to pay that back. Next is a PPP question, and that is the question of, can you request more funds through the PPP? And the answer to that is no. The way that the PPP is designed is based off of a formula on past kind of payroll costs, and that's how they determine how much you're eligible for through the PPP program. And as of now, if you've been approved and you've been distributed funds through the PPP, you cannot request more money. Now, there's always a possibility that there will be another round of stimulus money passed, and through that, there may be more PPP funds that could go out to past PPP recipients, but as of now, you cannot request more funds through the PPP. All right, so down to the last two questions. So the first question is regarding timelines. I had a lot of questions about kind of what the timeline is from the time that they pull your credit to the time that you either get an approval or denial for the loan. And this is tricky because the answer to this question has varied really greatly. I have heard from people that their credit was pulled and then a couple of days later they got the approval or denial. In my case, my credit was pulled a few weeks after I received the cash advance, and then 3 weeks after my credit was pulled, I received my denial letter. But my denial letter was dated 2 days after my credit was pulled. So they had determined my denial just a couple of days after they pulled my credit, but they didn't send that notification out to me until 3 weeks after that. But again, it really depends on a case-by-case basis, and I was one of the first people to receive cash advances, and so I do think that the timeline has kind of changed over the last month and a half. So I would say that if your credit gets pulled, it's a good sign because it means that there is progress being made. The next step after that is typically a portal invite, and then the next step after that is being approved for the loan. And so the timeline kind of when that exactly takes place varies from person to person quite significantly. But it is a good sign if they're making progress in any aspect of your application, whether that means getting a portal invite, getting your credit pulled, or getting a acceptance or denial letter. And lastly is one of the most frequently asked questions that I've been getting by far, and that is the question of, should I take the EIDL loan, or should I accept the EIDL loan, or should I accept the PPP? And most often when I receive these questions, the person provides me with a kind of brief description of their business, a brief description of their financial information, and then asks me what my specific thoughts are. And the thing that I want to talk about regarding this question is that, in my opinion, it is extremely difficult for me to say whether or not it's a good idea for you to accept the loan, because at the end of the day, I don't know what your financial information is, I don't know what your business is, I don't know what your projections are. There's just too many variables that I personally am not aware of, where I cannot confidently say whether or not you should accept the EIDL loan. But with that being said, I think that when you are faced with the decision of whether or not you should accept this loan, I think that you should ask yourself one question, and that is the question of, do I need this money to survive? Does my business need this money to survive? And if the answer to that question is yes, then I think that you should absolutely take the money. At the end of the day, the EIDL funding, even with all the red tape, even with the messiness that it's been, it's still extremely cheap money. And it's a really good opportunity for businesses to get access to cash that they may desperately need at an incredibly affordable price. And that opportunity may not come around again. And so if you need that money to survive, then I would say absolutely take the money. It is worth it in that case. It is worth taking on more liabilities. But if the answer to that question is no, you do not need that money to survive, but it may be nice to have the money, I would probably advise on not taking it. And that is just my personal opinion and kind of the philosophy that I am using with my own business and the people that I consult with in their businesses, is that even though these terms and conditions are extremely attractive, it is still debt, and debt is never good in any form. And so if you don't need the funds, I would probably advise for you to not take it and to just take the cash advance. But if you need the funds, I would without question accept it. The terms are really favorable. It's a really good opportunity to get some really cheap cash. And all in all, it can be an extremely beneficial decision. But I don't think that it's a decision that should just be taken on a whim. And I think that you should make the decision after really evaluating where your business is going, what your financials of your business are, and what the projections of the business is. But again, I do want to say that as much as I would like to give my advice to each individual person that asks this question, It is so dependent on your own business and your own financials, and I just can't confidently say one way or another whether or not you specifically should accept the EIDL loan. So you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it answered some of your questions regarding the EIDL and the PPP programs. If you have any other questions that I did not address in this video, then make sure to comment them down below and I will address every single question. And if you're somebody who is wanting to file an appeal or a letter of reconsideration, then make sure to check out this Friday's video, because I will be going through step by step what you need to do for the appeals process. I'll be giving you guys a template letter of reconsideration that you can work off of yourself, and the steps that I will be giving you are steps that I know that work, because I have walked a few of my clients through the appeals process and a number of them have already been approved for their appeal. And so I know that the process works, and I know kind of how to navigate the waters. So if you're somebody that is wanting to appeal either a denial or if you're wanting to submit a letter of reconsiderations for more funds, then you will not want to miss that video. But you guys, make sure that while you're at it, you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell so that you don't miss Friday's video. And I will see you guys in the next one.